Please welcome co-founder of DreamSetGo Daniel Dsouza in conversation with Skift editor-in-chief Sarah Kopit.
All right, so this is the post-lunch sessions. We're going to have to wake everybody up, okay? Promise? Show of hands, everyone agree? Excellent. All right, so we are going to talk in this session about live tourism. It's one of my favorite things to discuss, and let me tell you, if you're not familiar with the term, what exactly we think of live tourism at Skift. So, back in the good old days when, a family wanted to book a trip, they would say, where do we want to go? And then they would book plane tickets and book a hotel, and off they went. Now, more and more, we're seeing that people select an event. It's either a concert, a sporting event, maybe it's religious tourism, anything of that ilk, and then they plan their entire vacation around that. And I will give you one name that kind of exemplifies this entire philosophy, and that is Taylor Swift. So that was the big live tourism kind of like chasm that really kicked off a movement that's been going on for quite some time, but then it really came to the forefront with Taylor. So, shall we talk about some live tourism here?
Yes, why not?
Yeah, so why don't you kick us off? Tell us about what you do and how your company does live tourism.
I think, thanks, Sarah. So I think live tourism is in a stage where it's kind of exploding, not only in the world, but primarily in India as well. I mean, before we start, I just want to ask the audience a show of hands of how many have attended a live event in the last 6 to 12 months. Yeah, you can see that, right? Yeah. Almost about 60, 70%. Yeah. Right, I think it's a combination of young India, affluent, trying to, kind of imbibe the pop culture that's happening around the world. And because we're all globally connected today, we watch the same series that a kid in, say, Delhi watches the same series on the same day a kid watches in the US, right? So it's completely plateaued out in terms of what experiences that each one sees or views and, tries to imbibe. A great example like Taylor Swift is the Coldplay concert that happened in India, right? We had about 1.3 million people trying to book tickets for about 1.5 lakh kind of seats. And from, say, 1 or 2 shows, they had to take it to about 6 shows in 2 different cities, right? That's the kind of, thrust that live tourism is going to be. And I think it's more to do with people spending a lot of time digitally on their devices. And I think it gives an opportunity for people to connect with the others. I think that's also driving it quite a bit, is what I feel.
Yeah.
And, just to add, India, we have almost, I think we are the highest population today, about 1.4 billion people, right? And 2/3 of that are below the age of 35. And income is only growing. So we have about 12 million people taking about 1 million back home annually. So I think that's only going to get better, and in terms of spends, in terms of what people can do, right?
So we hear a lot, specifically in India, about production issues causing problems with the availability of live tourism and it being able to be a product that can be exported to people. Do you find that in your business, that it's a huge issue?
Yeah, I think venue shortages is a big problem, right? For example, if I can take the example of Coldplay, what happened was, you don't have city infrastructure that supports large venues. Like in the US, for example, Taylor Swift could do, a series of 40 concerts on a row. Yeah. But you can never do that in India, right? So you have to depend on larger cities like Bombay, Delhi, where you have very limited infrastructure. So there are multiple issues. One is city infrastructure. Then is transportation to these venues, which is a big problem. Mm-hmm. Just imagine 120,000 people getting into a stadium, getting out at the same time, right? It's crazy, right? You need to have that infrastructure around the stadium to be able to manage that. And I think the bigger problem is policy and regulations, right? The ability to, I think, when we get to a single window clearance in terms of, to even approve a concert happening in a city, I mean, till that is going to be a serious challenge, because today you need a lot of licenses from fire and safety, entertainment, food, beverages, everything, right? And I think the another larger issue is, like what happened this time was, the ticketing, how do you manage logistics in terms of ticketing, right?
yeah.
In 5 minutes, everything got sold out.
Yeah.
And Book My Show, who was the main agent who was selling tickets, was kind of blamed, but nobody realized that 1 million bots hit them,
Yeah.
right? So they had to change their whole strategy midway. So they went from a linear queue to a random queue model, right? So they were able to give more tickets to people. For example, Zomato now is in the space, which is another food beverage company who's now started in the entertainment space. So they did something different to avoid the scalping bit, right? So they do book now and sell anytime. So I could buy a ticket and then closer to the date sell it at a higher price. So I think we've tried, even companies have tried different ways of addressing these issues. But I think the larger issue still remains venue infrastructure, transportation around it. And what's happening, Sarah, is that, like for example, the concert in Bombay, only 20% were from the city of Bombay, right? The rest 80% came from other cities.
Right.
So how do you get flights coming in, trains coming in? So there's a lot of work you would need to work with the government for that.
So who do you think is winning the sports entertainment race in Asia? India had Lollapalooza, Dubai had the cricket championship, Singapore had Taylor Swift. Who's doing it best?
Yeah, if you look at the immediate, our neighbors, I think Singapore and Dubai are far ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Dubai, for example, just post-COVID, they did the Dubai Expo, which was a fabulous event. And they have multiple avenues. They have the Coca-Cola Arena, so they can actually pull off a event even on the Dubai Marina if they want, right? So, and in terms of tech, in terms of government partnerships, I think they're way ahead of us. So we have a long way to go. Australia is another destination. See, they have 3 big live events that happen in Australia every year, like the Australian Open, the Melbourne Cup, and the cricket tournaments, whether it's the Ashes and things like that. So they have set events which pull in a lot of inbound traffic, and they're built for that in terms of like the experience of me going to a cricket match in India, let's say in Delhi or Bombay at a Wankhede Stadium, and going to an MCG stadium is absolutely chalk and cheese, right? The ability to come out, the food that they serve, the quality, I think it's completely different.
So you talked about the issues with government. If you had the Prime Minister's ear, what would be the one big radical change that you would ask for in order to improve the live tourism experience for Indians?
I think building infrastructure, I think that's one big thing. In fact, he has come out and spoken about it after he witnessed the surge in numbers in Coldplay, and you won't believe there were about 5 international artists who came to India in a period of 3 months, right? You had Dua Lipa, you had Bryan Adams, you had Maroon 5. Just imagine people paying for all these 5 concerts in the city, right?
I still can't believe that Coldplay is like the one right now that is causing all of the...
Yes, it's actually woken up a lot of people. In fact, I don't know if you know that they had this Kumbh Mela in Prayagraj in UP where they had about 63 odd crore people who went. And there's about a 2 billion revenue that they generated, right, out of it. So they understand that there is need for infrastructure, and we saw the discussion in the morning with Deepak, and I think clearly there is a need, but how do you do private government partnerships like they do it in Dubai and other countries? I think that's going to be crucial.
So we were talking backstage about, and we talked with Tony, the CEO of Marriott this morning, about some of the turmoil that's been going on in the US market specifically. It's been a tumultuous couple of weeks. There's in the United States, and it's rippled out throughout the world. Does that have a big effect on you and on live tourism here in India?
It does. See, anything that happens, generally what happens, East follows the West, right? I mean, Indians generally tend to follow the Americans. So anything that happens in the US has a huge impact in India. And we all know that the stock markets are kind of shaky right now because FIs are pulled out. So there is going to be a serious impact of that. And what I've seen in my experience, spent about 2 decades in the travel spectrum, our business is very relative to how the stock markets behave, right? As it goes up, our business goes up and down. So I think it's a notional feeling of wealth. And when that starts getting shaken up, that confidence, then you tend to spend lesser, especially in the upper part of the pyramid, right? So I think that then directly relates to spends on discretionary spends. So I think that impacts quite a bit, yeah.
So do you think there's going to be a slowdown?
I don't think so. Not too much. I don't want to be politically incorrect, but Indians have the money, so they will still travel. At least, the aspirational people will still travel. Travel might not get impacted to that extent is what I feel.
So how do you see the younger travelers, the Gen Zs, I suppose Gen Beta, they're still babies, Gen Alpha, that crew, the 25 and under crew, how are they experiencing live tourism? I don't think they're going to see Coldplay.
You'll be surprised.
Yeah. Yes, I don't hate Coldplay. It's just, it's surprising to me. They were popular when I was a kid.
My daughter's 16 years, and we had to send her for a Coldplay concert with her friends, right? Spending a lot of money. So people are traveling.
Okay.
See what's happening today, for example, I'll just give you an instance. Say the Netflix series on, Drive to Survive. Now that's caught up so much in the student community in international schools that everybody knows Halan Sod, everybody knows, Norris. That's the kind of, so they, when since we sell a lot of sport, a lot of kids with parents come and say, okay, we want to go for the F1 race. Yesterday we had about 60 people at the Australian GP.
Yep.
Right, so I think that's how it's changing. I mean, football is big. A lot of people traveling for EPL matches, trying to combine holidays with some kind of a live experience. We see that happening quite a bit.
Do you think the booking platforms are keeping up with the demand? Are they helping out, hurting? Could they do it better?
I think they can do better, is what I feel. I mean, there are great examples in the US. For example, we are quite low on the radar in terms of social commerce and things like that. Instagram-driven events are quite big. There's something called, in the US it's their Comic-Con. That's caught up quite big in India now, right?
Yeah.
So Coldplay, in terms of also, something behind the, Burning Man in the US, now that's happening, that's caught up quite a bit in India. So I think there's a lot of emulations that people do following the US. And maybe booking platforms can find newer ways of monetizing income. Like for example, today IPL, which is a T20 league in India, is so big, right? For the next 2 months, if you're in India, you should watch an IPL match. Now, why can't we do something like what they do at the NFL, right?
Yeah.
The Super Bowl. The Super Bowl mid-event is so big. I mean, nothing stops us from doing something like that at the IPL at the final. So I think those are opportunities that booking companies can look at.
All right, couple questions from the audience here. What challenges did you face introducing sports tourism to Indian audiences?
I won't look at it as a challenge. I think sports sells by itself, right? I mean, anybody who wants to go for an event, it's only the ability to pay for that ticket is the hindrance. But I think there are more challenges on our side in terms of supply because of limited capacity, our ability to take those risk inventory because it needs investments quite ahead of time. I think those are challenges that we face, but I think if you ask me, everybody wants to go and see an event. It's only if they have the money to pay,
Are there any plans to collaborate with Indian franchises for unique experiences? I suspect maybe in sports.
Yeah, we are doing something like, for example, at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix for December. We've taken an entire lounge and renamed it as a Dream Lounge, which is right at the finish line where the race ends, right? So people can be getting ex-F1 drivers to spend time in the lounge with our clients and have a different experience. So we're doing stuff like that. At the IPL at cricket, with one of the IPL teams, we've co-branded a under-seater lounge, which is very premium. So we basically try to improve the fan experience and the hospitality experience for our clients.
All right, a cricket question. What is the age demographic of non-cricket live tourism? I guess it's a non-cricket question. How do you identify and acquire these customers?
See, for us, I think apart from cricket is obviously big for us because India loves cricket and Bollywood.
Yeah.
But apart from cricket, tennis, the Grand Slams are quite sizable. And also F1. F1 is picked up quite a bit. So these are two events or sports that are really growing at a rapid pace. And we largely work with partnerships with different.
What's the age demographic though? How
age
old are?
demographic, tennis, obviously it's about the 35 to 45 kind of a range. We don't have kids traveling. And F1, we have a lot of families with kids. I think kids could be as young as even 11 to 16.
Yeah, get them young. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Sarah. It's lovely speaking to you.
Thank you.